the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. Woot woot. And so they're going to give us an introduction to the Azure Health Bot. And with that, I'll let you take the stage.
Just right before, I just want to say something to everybody that's attending. Remember to complete the Cloud Skill Challenge. Just a reminder for everybody. And then you can go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupt you.
Thank you, Loxley. I'll just share my screen quickly. Is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see it. I think it'll be going live very soon. Yes, awesome. I can see it.
Okay, so greetings to everyone. My name is Shreyan, and today we'll be looking into what is Azure Health Bot, how to work with it, and we'll build some. There'll be some hands-on exercises right during this whole session. Without missing much time, let me introduce myself. My name is Shreyan J D Fernandes, currently a Beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. I have worked in a startup before. I'm a hackathon enthusiast and I've participated in around 15 to 16 hackathons so far. I'm an open source contributor as well. I'm MTA certified in Python and I'm a part-time blogger. My areas of interest lie in artificial intelligence, blockchain, DevOps, web dev, augmented reality, cloud computing, IoT, and robotics. And these are the links to my social handles. With this, I would also like to introduce my co-speaker for today. Meghana, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Yesasvini, so I'm Meghana Chikkam. I am currently a Beta Microsoft Student Learn Ambassador, and I have I have a lot of passion in technology, and so I have developed my skills in the same. And I have always been wondering how technology and healthcare together can help us solve problems. So I have also taken part in many hackathons, and I have also worked in a mixture of healthcare and technology. And work coming forward, I have also taken part as an intern in two of the startups in the roles of Python developer and fundamental programmer. And my areas of interest lie in healthcare development, web development, cloud computing, and blockchain. Yeah, that's about me. I guess Shreyan will carry on.
Thank you, Meghana. So without wasting much time, let's deep dive into what is Azure Health Bot. It's just an introductory session. So uh, basically, bots are nothing but that comes under the conversational AI, as we all know. And Azure has a pretty good bot frameworks that are up for you in cognitive services. There is a really huge um, services that they give us. So today we'll be focusing on one of such service called the Azure Health Bot from the healthcare domain. So Azure Health Bot service is nothing but it's like any other bot service that is there, but it's specifically designed for your healthcare organizations to build and deploy compliant virtual health assistants and health bots. So this is actually a service that combines built-in medical intelligence with natural language capabilities and more. As we all know, bots are having some mixture of natural language in them. So this is also nothing different here. So this allows the healthcare organizations to give people access to trusted and relevant healthcare services and information. So now, whenever there's a service, we need to design something of our own. Let's say our use case is something different, and not everything can come default built in with the particular service. So to enable this, organizations or the institutions that are looking ahead, looking forward to inculcate the Azure Health Bot need to build their own scenarios. But definitely, there are a few starter scenarios for us, which I'll be showing in a while. So there are some default scenarios for CDC and some regular checkups and stuff like that. And if you are okay with them, then you can use that. But let's say you want to give some more personal touch to that, and definitely there's a scope that Azure Health Bot provides you, and that is called the custom scenario. You can integrate this particular platform with other Azure services like your database, you can build an APIs, you can build your own API and connect it to your website, or you can also go ahead and build your own Teams application as well. The best part of this is that there are particular channels where you can channel your bot to the widely used messaging platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, so on and so forth. So overall, this is a great service that you can use to reduce your workload and also give a better service to your healthcare sector. So to get started with the Azure Health Bot scenario, you have several built-in scenarios, as I was just saying, and you can either look through them, or there is a learn path which is available on the Microsoft Learn platform. You can also design your custom scenarios in the HealthPod service that can fit your organization needs. So now, without wasting much time, let's dive deep into creating a basic scenario and also how to provision your first health bot. So let me just go to my desktop. Okay. So this will take some time. If I just sit and deploy one right now in front of you, it will take some time, and uh, it's not feasible to do it in a live session of 30 minutes. So what I've done is I've recorded the videos, and I'll just narrate you through all these. So firstly, we'll have to go to portal.azure.com, log into your particular Microsoft account with your Microsoft ID. If you have your student ID, you can log in with that as well. Now you can go ahead and click on create a new resource, and you can just type for Azure Health Bot, and this is your particular um, resource. And here you have to give a new resource group. Here, let me just type AI conference, and I'll just give a name like, let's say, Health Bot conference, and the region can be set to default, or you can change it as you want. And finally, I'll just click on create once the validation is passed. So I'm choosing the F0 tier. There's a paid tier as well, but if you want to follow along with this, just feel free to choose the F0 path here. So once your deployment is complete, you can go to this resource from this button here, and in the overview, you can see the management portal. This is the portal where we'll be working the whole custom scenario that I was just talking about. And again, it'll ask you to log in with your same Microsoft ID that you used. And here you can see the template scenario, the custom scenario, and the configured built-in capabilities. And this is your portal. Basically, this is where you'll be working with once you're done creating a resource on the portal. So on my left hand side, you can see the menu that is scenarios, language, configuration, integration, analytics, users, and resources. Today, for this particular thing, I'll be using the scenarios, and in that the manage section, and that is where you can find this particular thing that you can see on the screen. You can either select a template scenario, you can either create a new scenario, or the other thing. So now I'll go ahead and create a new scenario. We'll be basically building a paramedic bot, which will take in the vitals and other information from the user. So in this new scenario, I'll give a name like, let's say, paramedic bot, and give a suitable description. The scenario ID is unique. So this is something that will refer to your scenario once it's created. Once that is done, click on create, and now it will take some time to provision new one. And here you go, after your validation is successful. This is the canvas that you can see once it is done. The best part of this is there is no piece of coding involved. It's all just a single drag and drop interface that you can see. The first block that I'll be dragging here is a these are basically called the scenario steps, and this is the first scenario step that I'll be using. It's called the prompt scenario step. So here I'll just rename it to greetings, because I want to greet the user. So hello, how can I help you is the first thing that this bot asks you, and give it a variable name, and the variable data type here will be a choice. And in this, I'll just give, let's say, three departments here: services, departments, and more info. And maximum number of retries will be 2. Now, once that is done, the next block I'll be dragging here is a branch. Branch basically splits it. So this is the way we call it: scenario.greeting.index. So scenario dot is something that you invoke the scenario here. And this has two divisions here. One is the yes division, the other one is the no division. So in the yes division, the first place I'll give it to a services thing. So entering into services, and let's say we offer emergency and trauma as one of the service, ICU and CCU. And let's say next will be the pharmacy and microbiology and research wing, and then let's say OPD. And with that, I'll just give it OK. And now I'll just connect it here. Services. Now this is a switch. Next thing is a switch scenario step. This is basically to switch between all those 5 arrays. In that array, I had given 5 different entities. In order to switch between all those entities, I'm doing this. So let me just quickly give up everything here. And here, in order to include anything, I'm just giving this dollar symbol on the top, dollar, and in the bracket, it means services. That is basically referring to the variable that I had given. If you remember, a while ago, I had given services as my variable name. So with that, I have given include my variables dot entity, and also the switch case statements. This is basically very similar to the switch case that we have in, like, let's say, C programming language. We have the switch case statement, and at the end there will be a default as well. So let me just rename this as services, and I'm connecting it here. So we can see the 4 switch cases below and one on the right side. The one on the right side stands for the default. Let me just quickly fill in these with the statement blocks. Statement blocks are basically just to show something to the user, and prompt block is something that receives input from the user. So if I compare this thing to my programming analogy, so that will be print statement for the statement block. And with that, I have completed my services switch. Now let me go to the other branch. We had other things, if you remember, departments and more info. So if it is a no, then there are 2 more choices left here. That is scenario, sorry, the department and the more info. Let me just quickly fill in for the departments. So in order to do this, I'm just giving some random department names here: cardiology, let's say dentist, and let's say neurology. And with that, I'm just giving to this. Now again, the switch case, as I did before, I'm dragging in a switch case scenario step here. And again, that dollar department stand for dollar and the variable name, whatever you give for. If you just have noticed in the previous step, I gave department names in the prompt block as my variable. So after doing this, the default case, I'm just giving all the statements here, the cardiology experts and whatever it is, whatever you want to display to your user, or however you want to display to your user, I'm just giving it here. And if it is no in both the places, then definitely the third option is the right thing, and that's why I given more info there. Now, while I'm testing, hello, how can I help you, entering into services, and this is how your basic bot is constructed. Now, as we had just seen, there are a couple of other steps as well. That is your interrupting and breaking scenario, which my colleague Meghana will guide you through. Over to you, Meghana.
Thank you, Shreyan. So now we will learn on how to build interrupting and breaking scenarios. So first we will see what is an interrupting and what is a breaking scenario. Next slide, please. Yes, so what is an interrupting scenario? Interrupting scenario, like the name suggests, it is a scenario that interrupts the main scenario, and it will return back to the main scenario after the whole scenario is completed. So here we can see a small picture where the top level scenario is the main scenario, and from which the interrupting bot interrupts the main scenario and goes to the scenario 1, and that is called as a child scenario. And from scenario 1, we can again interrupt scenario 1 and go to scenario 2. And after scenario 2 is completed, it'll return back to scenario 1. And then after scenario 1 is completed, it'll return back to top level scenario. So that's what an interrupting bot does. An interrupting scenario interrupts the bot and interrupts the main bot and returns back once the scenario is completed. What's the difference between interrupting and breaking scenario? I'll let you know. So breaking scenario does something very similar. It goes to the next scenario to interrupt the main bot and completes the other scenario, but it does not return back to the main scenario. That is what is the main difference between interrupting and breaking scenario. While interrupting scenario returns back to the main scenario, breaking scenario does not return back to the main scenario. So I'll show you a small demo on how to make interrupting and breaking scenarios. So let me just share my screen. Just give me a minute. Shreyan, could you please share the video?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. It's giving me a trouble.
Give me a minute, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah. So I have recorded a video just like Shreyan did so that I will not waste any time here. So let's start with the video quickly. So since Shreyan has finished building the basic bot, we will have to create two more bots, one for the interrupting scenario and one for the breaking scenario. So first, starting with interrupting scenario, once we click on the new button on the left-hand side, we will be able to build the interrupting scenario. So we have to give the name, description, scenario ID, returning message, and we have to enable interrupting scenario for it to work as an interrupting scenario. And for the name, I have given it as intermediate bot 1. And for the description, anything suitable. And in this particular scenario, we will be collecting vitals from the patients. And so I have given the description as so. And the scenario ID will be vitals. And this particular scenario ID will be used later for triggering this particular scenario. And the returning message can be anything that needs to be shown to the users when the interrupting scenario is returning back to the main scenario. And here I'll be enabling only the interrupting scenario and not the breaking scenario. And then we can click on create. So once we click on create, we will be able to see the same workspace which we saw when Shreyan was building a basic bot. And here I'll be dragging out a statement box first to give a welcoming message for the users. So here I'll tell them, hello, welcome to the general checkup. And this particular interrupting scenario is only for taking the vitals from the patients. So I'll be taking in input from the patients, and that can be taken using the step called prompt. So here I'll be taking in their name, and name is a string. So I'm giving the variable name as string, and the variable name as name, and the data type as string. And here I can also change the name of the box so that we know what the prompt box is being used for. So next I'm asking them their age. Similarly, I'll be taking in their height and weight as well. So for age, since age will be a number, it is the data type will be a number. And next comes the height. And here I'm asking them to mention their height in the box, and I'll be giving the variable name as height. And since height is measured in number, I'll be giving the data type as height as number for the height. And same for the weight as well. Once I name the prompt box as weight, I'll be asking them to mention their weight in kgs. The display text is something that's going to be displayed for the users when they will be using this particular bot. And we will give the data type as number again. And once all of this is connected, we will simply thank them for giving their vitals. So for that, it's simply a display message. So I will not be using a prompt box. Instead, I'll be using a statement box. And here I'll be telling them that thank you for providing your vitals. And I'll ask them to continue with their process of booking an appointment with the basic bot, because this is an interrupting scenario. It will return back to the main scenario and continue with the appointment procedure. So once I've typed in the message, I'll just click on OK. So what this bot does is it welcomes the users and takes in their vitals, name, age, height, and weight, and then thanks them for the vitals. So once this bot is ready, we'll have to click on the save button and then click on exit. With that, we can see this intermediate bot 1 ready in the portal. Yes, so intermediate bot 1 is ready. Now we'll have to build a breaking scenario. So let's click on new, just like we did for the interrupting scenario, and give the name as intermediate bot 2. Here, the name breaking scenario will just collect temperature, will check the temperature of the user and return a dummy value. So here I'm giving the description as temperature checking, and the scenario ID will be unique. So I'll give it as temperature, which will be later used for triggering this particular breaking scenario. And for the returning message, I'm asking them to start with the procedure again because this is a breaking scenario. And for breaking scenario, we'll have to enable both interrupting and breaking scenario for it to work. And then click on create. We'll again come back to the workspace where we can work on. And here we will have to start with a statement box, asking them if they want to check their temperature. And just to make it look real, I'll be adding a small wait time for this. So here I'm adding a 3000 milliseconds wait time, which is 3 seconds. And after the wait time, I will be giving out a dummy value to the users, because as of now, we're not connected with any data type for us to actually check, database to actually check with the temperature. So we're giving out a dummy value. The temperature is XYZ. I'm just giving it out in a statement box. And after that, I'll be asking the students, these users, if they have anything else to check with, that is any other vitals to check with. And if they say no, I will be asking them to continue with the appointment procedure, but it will not go back to the main scenario, which means they will have to start with the procedure all over again. So that's what I'm going to be typing up in the statement box over here if they click on no. And if they click on yes, then that means they want to check with another vital. So I'll be giving them that option. So I'm giving them the option of selecting which vital they want to check. So I'm going to take in a prompt box because I want to take in an input from the user. So in the vital, I will select the data type as choice because I want to give them a choice of multiple options that they want to choose from. So any vital that they would like to check could be height, weight, and symptoms, I suppose. So this is how you would mention choices. And once we connect this, we would again give out a dummy value just for now. And I'm connecting a statement box, so I can give them a dummy value of whichever vital they chose to see. So here I'm giving XYZ dummy value for this. And once that is connected, our breaking scenario bot is ready, and we will connect the last statement box back to the yes or no option box so that they'll continue to check whether they want anything else. And once I'm done, I'll click on save and we can exit. So now you will see both all the three basic bot scenario, interrupting scenario, and the breaking scenario ready. And for us to connect with the breaking scenario, the interrupting scenario will have to have a option for the users to connect to the breaking scenario. The breaking scenario ID must be triggered from the interrupting scenario. So from here, we will ask them if they have checked their temperature after all the vitals have been collected. And if they haven't checked the temperature, we will ask them to check the temperature by entering the word temperature, which was the scenario ID in our breaking scenario. So I have created a yes or no box. I have asked them if they have checked their temperature. For the people who haven't, I will ask them to simply check their temperature and get back with the appointment procedure. And for that, they'll have to enter the keyword, the scenario ID, temperature. So as of now, I'm giving a statement box. And after which I will take a prompt box because it will take the input of the word temperature. So here I'm asking them to enter temperature as your input. And once the users enter the word temperature, the breaking scenario is going to get triggered and it will start working in the middle of this scenario. And then if they have already checked their temperature, then we would just ask them to enter the temperature. And since we're going to take the input of the temperature, I'm going to be using a prompt box here. So I'm asking them to enter the temperature in Fahrenheit, and variable type will be number. And after this, we will just connect the thank you box to the input box, the prompt box. So I'm also giving them an option of entering any common symptoms that they are facing, because this is going to be an entire appointment procedure. So I'm again giving choices. So cold, cough, fever, headache, and body pains. So that's how you enter choices. Please note the syntax. And after this, we could connect the last prompt box to the thank you message to finish the interrupting scenario. So I would just quickly save this scenario and exit it. So now we have both the scenarios ready, but we need to connect the main scenario. Before that, we have to create two models in order for them to work like we want them to. So for creating models, click on new. We have to give the name. So first being, we'll be using the interrupting scenario for making vitals, for collecting vitals. So the scenario ID was vital, so we'll give the name as vitals. And select the method as regex, which is regular expressions. And this is the syntax for the regular expressions. And select intent mapping as vitals and drop down menu also as vitals. And then we'll be creating another model, one as temperature, because that was the scenario ID for breaking scenario. and give the description as temperature collection or temperature simply, and select the method again as regex, which is regular expression, and just the word temperature is going to change. Everything else remains the same in the syntax. And intent mapping again will be temperature, and from the drop-down menu also we'll have to click temperature since that is a scenario ID, and click on create. So we have two more new models ready. So once we have the models ready, the only thing left is that we have to connect the interrupting scenario to the main scenario for it to work, for the whole flow to work. So in the main scenario, we will just ask the users to enter the word vitals to get their vitals checked. And for that, we will have to give an input box because we have to take the user's input as the word vitals for it to go to the interrupting scenario. So I have just entered a simple prompt box asking them to enter the word vital in two places because those are two possible places where the users would reach in the flow. So I'm naming it as vitals and asking them to enter the word vitals because that is the keyword, the scenario ID of the interrupting scenario. So once that is ready, we could just click on save and let's run it to check if it's working. So here I'm clicking on services. And when I click on services, it should reach the input box, the prompt box, which I just built, which says we have to enter the word vitals if we haven't given our vitals yet. So since we haven't, I'll just click we enter the word vitals, which is the keyword to trigger the interrupting scenario. So here you can see that the bot has reached the interrupting scenario and welcomes us to the general checkup. It's asking for my name. So let me just enter my vitals quickly. My name is Meghana. My age is 23. So once I've entered my vitals here, it will ask me if I have taken my temperature, like we have edited in this interrupting scenario. So since it's asking me for temperature, to check if the breaking scenario is working, I'll just click on no. So yeah. So once I click on no, you can see that the breaking scenario is triggered and we have reached the breaking scenario and it's asking us to enter the word temperature. So by entering the word temperature, the breaking scenario must get triggered and we have to reach the breaking scenario. So let me just enter the word temperature. So here you can see that it's asking us if we have checked the temperature, after which there's a 3000 milliseconds wait time. So it's giving us the dummy value and it's asking us if there's anything else that we have to check with. I've entered no, and you can see that the breaking scenario hasn't returned back to the main scenario. And that is what a breaking scenario does, right? So that's how interrupting and breaking scenario works, and that's how you can build it. So now I would like to hand back to Shreyan for explaining you on how to channelize a bot to teams.
Thank you, Meghana. So now we'll learn how to the bot real quick. That's the next part, because once a bot is ready, you can't really keep testing it on a web chat before that we were doing it there, right? You want to get it out there, you want to share it with a user or do something like that. So let's quickly see how to do it. Again, there's no piece of coding involved here. And I'll just show you how to do that. Give me a second. Okay. So to channelize the bot, we'll have to first again go to scenario management portal that I had just showed you a while ago. And in this, the first place I'll be going now is the integration. And in here, there are a couple of channels that you can integrate it to, as I just mentioned in the beginning of this tutorial. That is the Microsoft Teams, Twilio, Facebook, Telegram, Alexa, and the WhatsApp. So I'll be quickly showing you how to do it with the Microsoft Teams channel. When you click on that, you'll get this bot ID, copy this bot ID to your clipboard, uh, head back to your Microsoft Teams channel, I mean the Microsoft Teams app, and in the search section, just paste this ID that you just copied, and you can there see the healthcare. Now I'll just go and let's say hey or hello, just give it an intent. So I'll just give it hello. And here you can see, so hi, how can I help? But this is, if you remember, this is not the scenario that I wanted this bot to trigger. So this is something that is different. So probably it must have this hello intent is mapped to a different scenario. So let me just quickly change it to my scenario. I'll go to language, and under this there is models. In this greetings it says hello. So I'll just quickly edit this. Yes, you can see in this greeting it says built-in /greeting. So I'll change it to my particular scenario name, that is the bot one. If you remember in the beginning when I was creating, I gave it bot one. So I'll click on save and then go back to my Microsoft Teams channel. And now let's see, I'll type hello. So now it should probably give me the right one, the scenario. Yes. And here you go. Hello, how can I help you? Services, departments, and more info. So this is how you can connect your bot to various channels. Now I have shown you one with the Teams, and you can go ahead and create it with different channels as well, like Telegram, WhatsApp, and that would be more omni channel, right? You can get in touch with your patients or with your customers very easily here. So healthcare organizations around the world are using currently the Azure Health Bot service to improve patient outcomes and reduce the cost. Definitely cost is a factor that every organization looks into, and Azure Health Bots is somewhere giving you an opportunity.
Thank you so
Most
much,
partners have
Shreyan.
built health bots that help patients check symptoms, find appropriate care, and look up nearby doctors.
We've reached the end of our time, but this is such a fascinating space. Like even as you were talking,
Am I audible?
I think you are, but we've reached the end of our time
Am I
frame.
audible?
So
Hello.
yes,
Yeah.
but I think where we have to cut it there, unfortunately, which is so sad because this is such a fascinating space. As I was in the back end, I remember reading an article, like literally, I know I read it on the news that Microsoft has been using their healthcare bot to partner with the CDC to help detect COVID-19 symptoms. So it is so impressive to see the Azure Health Bot, Microsoft Health CareBot being used in the real world, like quite literally saving lives. Like what an impressive impact that AI is happening on the entire world. Thank you so much, Shreyan. Thank you so much, Meghana, for your time, for coming and introducing me to something I didn't know anything about before this. And now I'll pass it to Louisa to introduce our next speaker.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your session. It was amazing. And right now we are going to go with Artificial Intelligence in Public Transportation Systems by Sania. Are you there? Also, while she's connecting, I want to remember everybody that for each model on the Cloud Skill Challenge that you complete, we will be planting one tree. So go ahead, don't forget to complete that Cloud Skill Challenge and email screenshots to aiconf@globalai.community. Um, I'm not
I
sure
need
if
to do that. Well,